of the most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Racehour podcast, brought to you with our friends at Gambling.com, of course. This season, the national hunt season 23-24. I never thought I'd say that out loud. I didn't think I'd make it this far, but I did. Darren Nolan is here. Darren, how are you?
All good, Dino. All good, buddy. How are you?
Very good. Still counting the Psycho winnings from last weekend.
Still counting the Sir Psycho. Dave McGurran, who used to be on this podcast, always said if you fancy horse and it drifts, just keep backing. And it was the first time I actually did that. And then I remember he got out to 33s and I went, this is stupid. And obviously he's lost a leg or something. Yeah. and then all of a sudden he was back into 12s. Yeah, it was brilliant. Really good.
I'm glad you finally joined me on the Psycho train. The one day that came good. That was very sensible move by you. We're obviously teaching each other good things. Fair play, well done. It was a good pot we landed there. Nice one. This week on the Racehour, of course, we're going to do a couple of ante-post races. We're going to take a quick look at the Paddy Power Gold Cup and the Coral Gold Cup. I'm delighted to say joining us this week. Got two returning guests. Gary Connolly is here. Gary, you well?
All good. Good to be back for the start of the jump season. Just on that Psycho. One of the perils of IPTV, I already saw the race coming up, tried to log in to back it, and of course the 5-minute delay killed me there. So congrats on the winner, but I was sore coursing it as well at the same time. So good picking, lads.
Hey, you might have been cursing me even more, and I don't know, because before, people don't know. Myself and Gary are in the same office here at the Gambling.com towers, of course. And I told them there was 5 absolute good things at the weekend. All of them discussed on the podcast last week. And I think maybe Sir Psycho wasn't even in that 5. So, no. Yeah, okay, fair enough. All right, we'll move on. Our other guest, of course, this week is the returning Darren Hughes. Darren, good to have you back on the Racehour.
Yeah, geez, thanks for inviting me back, lads. I wasn't sure I'd ever be let back in this podcast, but here we go. Delighted to be here and looking forward to the year.
Yeah, top man. Well, two good judges back to complement 2 poor judges in myself and Nolan. And as I promised you, we're going to start this week's podcast. And we're obviously going to look at Wincanton and Aintree for the weekend. That'll be in the second half of the pod. But firstly, we're going to have a crack at a couple of ante-post races that aren't Cheltenham. I can hear the screams, actually, from the audience going, what? Not Cheltenham. I mean, surely that's all anyone is talking about. There are a few good races on the way into the Cheltenham Festival that will obviously shape some things that will happen there. Paddy Power Gold Cup is first up for discussion. People might remember we did briefly discuss this on a couple of the opening pods because we were looking for some horses to keep an eye on for the season ahead. I threw up Unexpected Party as one I liked in the Paddy Power. I can see now that it's obviously going to beat Napper's Hill, which was a good start. Napper's Hill going this weekend as well. And is vying for favouritism. Dan Skelton's got a good thing here, Dermot Nolan. He's got a good thing.
Oh, I don't know. I think when you could look back on the Turner's form from last season, Stage Star was so good. The horse I was looking up to this all week was kind of not long till May. And then I just watched back that Turner's last night again, and God, Stage Star comfortably was holding him now over the last. Like, I know Mighty Potter bombed out, probably just doesn't like Cheltenham, which would mean that race probably wasn't the greatest in the world. But Stage Star won that in the shape of a horse who could be running into a place in something like a Ryanair. So when you're looking at him here, I'm not recommending an ante-post betting him, obviously, at those odds. I'd imagine he'd be similar enough on the day, although you could see him going off something like 7-2. I really struggle to see Stage Star beaten, even if he will be top weight here. I just really struggle to see it. Other horses like Angel's Breath, it could be very interesting. Be worried about the bounce factor potentially with him. The aforementioned Not Long Till May ran a huge race as well. He's a decent price, but he's only getting £3 now from Stage Star. They ran off levels that day. That's not enough. Unexpected Party bombed out that day. He was kind of held up around, never landed a glove on them. I don't think it's this long a plan in place. If it is, fair play to the Skeletons, but I think they were there to run a race that day. So once again, I love trying to find outsiders in fields like this, Dean. I just struggle to see past Stage Star winning that race.
Fair enough. And I mean, that is the obvious race to look at. The two of them set at the top of the market. I mean, at the minute, it's 6-1 Stage Star. You can see a little bit of 9s and 10-1 around Unexpected Party. The real whacker and unlikely runner, I think, is around the same price. And you've got Fugitive, Not Long Till May, Redotto, obviously a big favourite in these races. That's All Right, Gino. 16s-1 bars, a few of them. You mentioned Angel's Breath. I think that has to be in the consideration, because that one had to try and get 2 stone to a local horse. I think it was a Keeley horse who beat it. the other day, and I thought that was a big run from Angel's Breath. But Unexpected Party, they taught it to lose last year, didn't know what it was doing at Cheltenham, and now they've taught it to win, Darren Hughes. They taught it to win.
Yeah, like I couldn't agree more with you here. I didn't know you were going to say any of that, but he's the horse I have for my Paddy Power Gold Cup pick. It is tricky to pick one for that race at this stage, but he's a horse I've got so much time for. Like how he got beaten in two of his hurdle starts the season before last, I've absolutely no idea. I think this could be his breakout year. I think they've always taught an awful lot of him. He obviously beat Naperville in his return, as you said. He's twice the price of Stage Star going for the Paddy Power Gold Cup. He's got a £9 swing with him from 2 defeats last year. And I think a race like the Paddy Power Gold Cup will suit his style of running an awful lot more than an open graded chase or even a novice graded chase where, you know, Stage Star was good, jumped well, got very much his own way. That's highly unlikely to happen in the Paddy Power Gold Cup, and it'll suit a horse like Unexpected Party that little bit better. So I think goes here with a great chance. I can't believe he's twice the price of the favourite.
Yeah, don't think that's going to last, Darren. I don't think that's going to last. I'm going to tell you, Dean Ryan disciples who were listening to this podcast a couple of weeks ago, and that's at least 3 people I'm related to, are already on. So this is good news. Darren Hughes weighing in on the Unexpected Party. It will be a very expected party if it wins, if Gary joins this party.
Unfortunately, I will be late to this party or not show up at all. I've put some money down on this actually during the week. That's all right, Gino, for last year's winning trainer, Jamie Snowden. He's following the same path as last year's winner, Gala, GA whatever we call it.
Galore, I was told, and it made so much sense, but it just ruined my head because I've been calling it GAA Galore. But yeah, Galore.
Yeah, he's one of them now. He ran in the all-round chase at Aintree earlier on in the month. Bit of a farce with the 6 fences taken out, but that should leave him cherry ripe for this and be trained to the minute by Jamie Snowden. The big form chance I give him, he ran in the trials day against the Fab State Star. He was receiving just £4 and he put it right up to him. I think, I said he'd be trained in a minute for this, and 16-1 just looks too big. Come the day of the race, I wouldn't be surprised if that's at least half the price. So I've weighed in, and I'd be disappointed if he's not in the shake-up.
Nice. Took around 16-1 there as Gary already. Okay, a couple of votes for Unexpected Party. Dermo can't see Stage Star getting turned over, although the price is skinny. It could be skinnier, Dermo. I mean, maybe me and you will both come round to Angel's Breath the week of the podcast for that race.
Yeah, you could see Stage Star going off 7-2, but look, the more money that comes for Expected Party now, the happier I'll be. So yeah, please God, it keeps coming. Fair enough. Okay, now the Coral Gold Cup, the old Hennessy, of course, and the race that changes its name every year, now seems to be settled as the Coral Gold Cup. The market for this has been really interesting. Dermot, I'm going to come to you first. I mean, Stephen Cass was telling us all about Mile the Mission. It's almost favourite now since that discussion that we had on this podcast a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, this is all off the back of what was a very promising run at Carlisle over a trip that just would have been too short. It was really the ideal prep. You know, he didn't affect his mark too much. The whole thing was just absolutely ideal. John McConnell has always thought the absolute world of this horse. I took the 14s. We were talking about this in our WhatsApp group during the week, and took the 14s then, because just the more you look at the race, like Moonbig Genius obviously has that brilliant piece of form in there with Korat Rambler, and the name evades me, the Martin Brazel horse that
Fast
won.
or slow?
Fast or slow, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost as good as a Gold Cup, that race, allegedly.
Serious piece of form. So, like, that's completely understandable. But Malheur Mission comes in here representing very, very decent form as well. I mean, even that run behind Churchstone Warrior, like, he really showed his heart. I watched back the 3 mile sixer last night, and a lot of people say that Gaillard Demesnil would have won anyway. I don't know. Like, I know the jockey made a definite error, kicked on when he really shouldn't have, but he didn't look to me like a horse that was legless jumping that fence. He caught it and fell. That's a serious piece of form, because Gaillard Demesnil the previous season was third in the Brown Advisory. So even if he'd got a poor ride and finished place that day, that's still serious form. He's a horse that, as Stephen Cass has said, he's a horse that his running style suits the race. His price is short now, but there's still a bit of tens around. And just the field isn't that strong. So as you break it down, I just couldn't agree with Stephen Cass more. The track, the trip, the horse, everything else just really does look here, Dean, like Malheur Mission at 10-1 does look a cracking bet, because this race used to be long gone are the days of the likes of a Bob's Work turning up to a race like this, where you could potentially have a Gold Cup contender. You're looking at the tier below that. And in my eyes, Malor Mission is definitely in that tier. He's a horse that, you wouldn't be surprised to see him running on for a place someday in an old Lexus or something like that. He's definitely is that quality. So it's not often I agree with Stephen Cass, but yeah, no, I definitely agree with him here anyway.
Yeah, Dermo weighing in with the original shout from Mr. Cass, and the market is speaking in its favour. A bit of tens around, but generally an 8-1 shot. And that joins at the top of the market with likes of Monbeg Genius, who had a rather disappointing comeback run. Complete Unknown has been a bit of money around for that. It's around tens. Midnight River, the same price. Real Whacker also in here, just in one market, so I can't see that one turning up. You got Stumptown, Our Power, Remastered, Stolen Silver, Zanza, who only wins at one course. It happens to be where this race is at. Kitties like Galia, Delito. There's a few old boys in here that I thought were interesting. Chantry House, Sean Blue, even Royal Pagai's got an entry. Gary, did you make any sense of the Coral?
Yeah, it's a disappointing enough race now, I thought, from what its glory days. We had some classy horses running in it. It doesn't seem to be a case this year. One I'd probably come down with is Complete Unknown for Paul Nicholls. Just like his profile for the race. Like, he was no match for Jerry Colomb at Aintree last season, but he had a wind up since, and he won a decent intermediate chase at Newton Abbey. Nicholls targets that race with a couple of his decent ones. Brave Man's Game, Pick Doherty, have won that race in the past. And we beat Might Eye. I rate that Might Eye. If he got jumping, he'd be a fair tool, and he beat him. He should improve massively for the run. And I think there's plenty of improvement in him over these staying trips. 10-1 is probably just about a bet now at this stage. There's been money for him this week, but he'd be a selection in a poor enough race, I think. Like Malor Mission, yeah, definitely. I agree with Darren now. He has a chance in this, but he would have got up and spat out up the hill at Cheltenham by the Gala, the Malil and Chemical Energy. He would have been gasping for air over the last. I think he would have been doing well to get toured if he did stand up. But and another improving horse. I think it's between those two, just the potential's there. And as you said, there's a lot of old timers in it that they've had that day, and we'll go with the up and coming fresher legs.
Fair enough. Complete Unknown then for Gary. And I kind of agree with you on the Malor Mission thing. I think the juice is sucked out the price now anyway. If anyone got on the decent double figures, you're sure to get a run for your money. Looks like all systems go. I mentioned a few of the older boys there. Darren, you got anything insightful here to throw into the mix? It's a few weeks away.
Yeah, I genuinely did indeed, to be honest. Between this and the Paddy Power Gold Cup, obviously unaccepted party for that for me. It's just a horse I've got so much time for, and I can see myself following him for the next 6 to 8 months. Whereas this, at this stage, I couldn't see anything in it where I thought that's definitely going to be a shorter price in the day. So therefore, I've no initiative to get involved at this stage. With a lot of these handicaps, unless you think you've really spotted one that the bookies have missed, you're probably better off sitting out until the day, because you might only lose out in half a point in terms of the price it goes off or the price it's available, but you're picking up maybe 2, 3, sometimes even 4 extra places on the day. So for me, there was nothing that stood out to me at the moment. As the lads rightly alluded to, lost a little bit of its class this race down through the years. So I'm quite content to sit and wait until the week of or even the morning of the race at this point.
Sage advice. I did want to throw in Beauport back into the mix. I thought we'd win at the weekend, and I don't think anything went right for it. I'm sure I told Gary it was a good thing, and it didn't turn out to be a good thing. But I think the money's just on loan. It's number 27 in the list here. I think weights-wise probably needs, what will they run, 24? I think 24 might be the max there, so it needs a few to come out. He'd be right at the foot of these weights, depends on what stays in at the top. And he's still on the bridle going, I know he finished last of 5 that finished in the Sodexo Gold Cup, right? That's never the biggest recommendation. But he finishes fuller runner, and nothing went right for Jordan Naylor in the plate. That's the gamble you take. And I think Beauport might be a big price for this race, currently around 50s. So I'm still leaning there, although I have so much time for the likes of a Chantry House or a Chamblou or a Royal Pagay. The old Madison de Burley touches of this race might tip me into trying to find an old stager to come good in the Coral. All right, well, we went through a couple of big punting races there, ante-post wise, for the few weeks ahead. But we didn't touch on Brave Man's Game from the weekend. It was a comeback that split opinion. Did Brave Man's Game run well, run out of gas, hit the fence because he was tired? or did he get beat by a really good horse? Of course, the owners of Gentleman's Game have another one that's going to run this weekend, Jerry Colomb. So they'll be pretty pleased. Darren, what did you think?
Yeah, I'm reluctant to get too excited about Gentleman's Game. It's hard to know what would have happened. Like if Harry Cobden had kicked on a bit earlier, he seemed to be travelling well. Like maybe he was empty. I don't know. Every possibility he'd have been beaten further. It's difficult to say without obviously being on the horse's back. All I do know is Gentleman's Game was off it a long, long way out. And if he's under the pump that far out in a really good 3 mile grade 1, they won't come back to him as easily as Brave Man's Game did here. There's every chance he's still improving. It's only his 3rd chase start, I think, is what I saw. But I'd say Brave Man's Game would have to be very, very disappointed. The excuses are minimal. Granted, okay, he was given a penalty, but his quote-unquote main rival bombed out, Ahoy Senor. He still couldn't get the job done. Ground was soft, carrying a penalty, as I said. Still think he underperformed by a fair way, and he's got a lot more to do if he's to get closer to Galloping des Champs at Cheltenham in March.
Okay. I mean, Nichols did say afterwards, it would have left him plenty light and they would expect him to come forward a lot, and they got beat by a race fit rival. All the lovely platitudes are in there, Gary. Brave Man's Game. What did you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't be as downbeat on the run now. I thought, a couple of things. He was nowhere near fully wound up. Ground was really testing. And I think he was just letting on. He was more tired than he looked coming down to the last. I don't actually think the mistake at the last, it didn't cost him a lot of momentum, to be honest. And I'd probably give Gentleman's Game a lot of credit. I think he's just been downgraded, but he is an improving chaser. He was race fit. He got an excellent no-nonsense ride from Darren O'Keefe. So I'd take plenty of positives from it. And I think it was perfect tune-up for the King George. And he goes there for me for the one to beat still.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they'll be pretty pleased. There was a fascinating quote afterwards. The owner and Mouse were interviewed at the course, and the owner said, "Did you want to know the reason why I was running here? Is because I wouldn't let Mouse take on the other one, which is this weekend." Demo, that owner's got a nice dilemma, hasn't he? They're going to have to meet each other at some point, as long as that wasn't a complete fluke from Gentleman's Game.
A serious, absolutely class dilemma. They've always this owner's always bigged up Jerry Colomb for a long time now as being his Gold Cup horse, so it's no bad thing to have a second one. I mostly agree with Gary, and then I partly agree with Darren. So so I can see that jumping the last fence. Firstly, I thought Darren O'Keefe gave the horse a brilliant ride. I thought he held on to a little tiny bit that meant that he was able to kind of come back. Brave Man's Game went into the race last year and actually drifted in the market because Paul Nicholls had told the world that this horse was as big as a house and wasn't going to be doing much. So I think Brave Man's Game can definitely be forgiven. But the one issue I have now with Brave Man's Game, and Dean, I'm a late disciple of this horse. I do love him. I think his jumping's outstanding and everything else. But every time he's been eyed up now, coming over the last, he hasn't quite got it done. He either wins easy, streaming away from everyone, or he's kind of flattering to deceive a bit. I mean, the best horses get the job done no matter what kind of happens. And I understand he bumped into a brilliant Bob Ollinger, bumped into Galloping des Champs, who's obviously just outstanding, but still there's a little bit of me now looking at Brave Man's Game going, what does he actually find? I still don't think we know, really. And that's why if the King George was running tomorrow and we knew Shishkin was in good form, I'd probably back Shishkin against him. So it's opened up for me, the King George. He's still the one to beat, as Gary said, but the excuse of not being fit, whilst it is valid and fair, he was still there to win the race. He was still jumping the last, and I just think he got out battled, and that's not the first time this has happened to him. I hope he comes back. The Gold Cup division is a much better division for having a horse like him. But yeah, I'd have a few question marks now about him.
Fair enough. And that's what going for an early target and get beat does, throws those question marks in. You just woken me up to a massive dilemma I'm going to have in that King George. If Shishkin and Brave Man's Game goes, I don't know if I can split my body in half. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to manage that. To work something out. I do look forward to it though, as we do. And that was the real talking point of the weekend. think if Braeburns game hadn't hit the last, probably wins. But these touch of the John Bonds about them, these English big guns. When a big Irish horse turns up, they just wilt. And it wasn't even the A team. All right, why don't we move on to the weekend's action coming up from Wincanton, Diarmuid and Aintree. There is a belter of a race. I don't know if anyone spotted it at Diarmuid. I think it's tomorrow with Irish Point and Magical Zoe in it. Diarmuid, I was going to ask you about Magical Zoe. You're quite keen on this horse for the season anyway. But that's a tough starting point, isn't it, in that Grade 3?
Yeah, Magical's always race fit as well, so it should be all right. That horse has kind of had a procession run this season already.
Jeez, it was so processional. I'd forgotten it happened, which is why.
Yeah, literally just jogged around. But this is Henry de Bromhead's probably sticking to the same plan as last season, where she could well get put away now after this run. Go straight towards the Mayor's Hurdle. I've backed her. I made no secret that I've backed her for the Mayor's Hurdle. I think nearly getting a stone off Irish Point. Yeah, Dean, she was in my anything else this weekend section, 2-1 or so. If there was a small drift on that now and you were getting kind of, 9-4, 5-2 tomorrow, I can't see that happening. But if it was, that would be very good. And I don't think Adrian Heskin will have a bigger ride in his life at the moment. He's losing that association with those owners has really damaged him. He's not getting a whole pile of rides. This is his big horse. His big race. He needs everything to kind of go right, and he's a jockey I've always thought well of, and he's just in the rebuilding part of his career, and as a jockey that's a very hard phase to be in. We've seen it before with Sam Thomas, kind of never came back from that stage of his career really. Keith Donoghue has actually, so like it can be done, but it's very difficult when you're a jockey, when all of a sudden you find yourself unfashionable. That's a very hard place to come back from.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sorry I brought your anything else horse forward there, Damo. It wasn't intentional. I just didn't want to let it slip, given that we were talking about the horse recently. You can kick us off with the 150 at Wincanton if you want, Damo. And, we've mentioned Nappers Hill already. It's the unexpected party form that's going to war in the 150 at Wincanton, which is their Rising Stars Novices Grade 2. They're going to take on a couple of good ones. Captain Comby, Doyen Star, Givega's in there, a couple of outsiders as well, Lady Adair and Opening Bid. But Nappers Hill's going to be odds on. And this will be a procession, Darren.
I don't know how good Nappers Hill is. His form is based on winning English hurdles where he's beaten the likes of Goshen. Yeah, but Goshen had that big day, unfortunately, at Cheltenham where it just tipped up for him. But it's hard to know how good Goshen is, or Goshen obviously, wrong horse though. It's hard to know how good Nappers Hill is. Captain Comby's a horse that I do rate. He got stuffed by Sharjah, but there's no shame in that. Sharjah is a proper 160 rated hurdler who has taken the fences quite well. So there's absolutely no shame in that at all. The same fate would have befallen Nappers Hill there, but he flatters to deceive in a finish. I love the Evan Williams horse, but what a mad debut to have over fences. Absolutely mental. So it's a race that I ended up just kind of putting the line through and saying that I will watch this race. I was looking to take on Nappers Hill, but I just don't know where to turn with it. I would lay him, but again, it's just the field's not all that strong. So yeah, it's a race that I'm happy to kind of shirk here.
Fair enough. I've got two brave market judges on this podcast, of course, in Darren and Gary. When you go 8-13 Nappers Hill, and you go 4-1 the field, and you're talking about Captain Comby, Doyen Star around 7-1, Givega 8-1. Is there value there, Darren?
Yeah, late fav. I'm going to go one step further than Dermo. I was really trying to get him beat. Couldn't pick one out. I would have loved JPR. One had rocked up here. Would have been very interested to chase debutant if he had done so. But maybe not chase debutant. I can't remember if he's had one spin. But I think Nappers Hill is windy enough. I don't really like horses who spend that extra year hurdling. I know that he's not the only one here that's done that. But I think at 8-13, it's part of the reason I'm happy to take him on. There's something in him I don't like, and I've never liked, and certainly at those odds, or at that price, I'm content to take him on. Captain Comby is kind of a wily old animal. He's been there and done it. His running style mightn't be perfectly suited to this exact test, but I wouldn't call him a no-hoper. On balance, I just think 4-1 the field, 8-13 the fab. I'd sooner have the field running for me at 13-8 than the favourite at 8, or 8-13. Or to be honest, I'd lay him at any price up to about 5-6, 8-11.
Fair enough. I think that's the way this race is going to shape up for most people. Do you like Nappers or do you not like Nappers, Gary?
I like Napas, don't like the price. Yeah, it's too short a price to be taken. I think he's the most likeliest winner of the race, but yeah, I'd have no interest in backing him at those odds. Probably be more sit out and watch. I wouldn't be rushing to lay him. Probably lay him at the prices, but it's a watching brief for me. Likeliest winner, but price is just not appealing at all.
Now, there is a way, Gary, there is a way you can get nappers on side. There is. You just got to look at Paul Nichols's book across this Wincanton card, and if you row in on the Saturday Nichols train, he's got plenty. We're going to talk about a few of those on here. If you had to take him on, what would you take him on with, Gary?
Probably Dian Star. I was impressed with his hurdle form last year. He looks a horse packed with potential. 7-1, more than fair, I think. But he has it to do to beat Napas Hill on form. But so yeah, watching brief, but Diane's there. If you had to, maybe you'll give me a free tenner or something to throw on.
Okay. Fair enough. Interesting, informative. Excuse me. First race for us to look at from Wincanton's 150. We're gonna jump across the pond and go to Downroar for their 220. We're going in time order this weekend. There's a big bubble about to be burst here, isn't there? Gary, there is. There's a big bubble about to be burst here. Jerry Colom's going to take on Manila Indo, Envoy and Conflated. He might finish fourth.
It's probably the wrong race now. If I was Rob Corr, I would have sent Jerry to take on Brave Man's Game and Gentleman's Game here.
Far too brave this time of the season. Look what they've ended up against, though. It's not easy.
This track's not going to suit him at all. Like, if you could think of a worse track to run this horse on,
really,
it would be here. It's just a speed track. He looks a big galloping type. Odds on very short, but the field he's up against, like Conflated's gone at the game. Envoy Allen, you wouldn't trust him to buy a pint of milk in the shop for you. Although he probably could go well defending his crown. Manila Indo, Jesus, he's getting on. It was a Mickey Mouse race he won last time. The Elliott pair weren't off a yard. So probably by default he wins, but yeah, no interest in backing him. I wouldn't be surprised if he came fourth, as you said. Strange choice to be starting him out here. There was plenty of other options like Coral Cup. Would have been nice to see him lump a big weight round there. And I thought he could have been well up to the job around that track. But yeah, wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't say bubble burst. Wouldn't be surprised me to see him beat. But moving forward, he's got to take top rank at the top table this season on a more suitable track, let's say.
Okay, so if he disappoints this weekend, whatever style that might be, even winning unimpressively, it won't halt your vision of him for the year.
Not at all. Like, it'd be see him around Leopardstown, around Cheltenham, these big galloping tracks that suit him a lot more. So, yeah, just he has 4 legs and a tail, and he gets around in one piece. That's all he wants.
Is that all he needs to win this weekend, Darren? 4 legs and a tail to beat these 3?
Yeah, I think he's the Gold Cup winner in waiting, to be honest with you. I love this horse. He should still have a string of ones left next to his name. There shouldn't be a 2 in there at all. I don't think, in hindsight, he was probably not made enough use of at Cheltenham. I think that's a very fair comment. And I think, as much as Gary is correct, this isn't the ideal track to run him at. I think if Jack Kennedy, is able to make enough use of him, there's no reason he can't go and win. All of these are on the downgrade. I'm convinced of it. Conflated is absolutely and completely gone, as Gary said. But whatever about Envoy Allen, I think he still has a performance in him. Predicting him, so trying to pick the bonus ball in the lottery this weekend, it's very difficult to do. Manila Indo is admirable. I like the win, his win in Punchtown, and ironically enough, that's the race that John Cossack actually won on his way to winning this race in 2015. But I just think Jerry Colom, the younger legs, 7 years of age, and in my opinion, he's probably still improving, which is a scary concept. So as much as he is even money or even a little bit shorter in places, I find it very difficult to see past him this weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing him.
Fair enough. I'm looking forward to this race for all of those same reasons. You mentioned Don Cossack there. I mean, Dermot Nolan is still using the same betting bank he generated from Don Cossack winning a Gold Cup. Is this the second coming of the big Don?
Yeah, I was very windy on this podcast a few weeks ago when you asked me this question. I kind of fobbed it off. I didn't quite got it. But yeah, Dean, I just went through, again, I got a few hours last night, went through a few different bits and bobs, and I'm back on the Jerry Colom wins the Gold Cup train. I understand that he's got the look and the build when he gets going of a horse laden with stamina, but he was quick enough to win over 2 miles 4 last season at Sandown, jumping around really well on quick ground. That's not a slow horse. I think that the course isn't his 100% going to suit him, but I think it definitely will. He'll be fine. He's on a trial for the Gold Cup. Conflated's on his trial towards the cross country. And then you've got, Envoy Allen's there. Very hard to know, as Gary said, where he is. Nalindo absolutely adore this horse, but, he's over the hill. I think rather than a bubble being burst, I think a bubble gets properly created here. And I think for the rest of the winter, we talk about him taking on Galloping des Champs and everything else. We need to see that horse come out. But Jerry Clom, for me, has done everything right. And that performance last year, I actually think the old course just didn't suit him. I think the new course, and Don Cossack was beaten in kind of similar circumstances that Ryanair before he went on to win a Gold Cup. Gordon Elliott hasn't been overly shy about this horse being a Gold Cup horse either. It's all very similar, and it's a big race, massive starting point. And I've been in love with this horse since that Down Royal hurdle win, and I'd be absolutely shell-shocked beyond belief if we aren't talking next week about a future Gold Cup horse here.
Fair enough. I mean, it is after Brave Man's game of the weekend, that's gone out to 16-1 for the Gold Cup, which I thought was a big overreaction considering, if they were all to get there and Galloping des Champs didn't get there, God, it'd probably be favourite. But the one horse in the way is Jerry Colomb, 13-2. Shifskin is there 14-1. I mean, who knows? An extraterrestrial might decide that this is the season. It's hard to know. After that, there isn't much there. So 13-2 might be a bit of value, Darren. Are you going to start building up a few slips?
I've had a few quid on, but I was disappointed last season because I was kind of, after he lost at Cheltenham, like Don Cossack did, I was rather hoping he didn't do what Don Cossack did and go on to win an Aintree, because you could have been looking at a very decent Gold Cup horse price had he been put away after that, because, as punters, we're very unforgiving of a last run. The amount of times that we've looked at festival markets, and because a horse got beaten the previous year, they're wiped off the face of the earth. So after he won an Aintree, I was actually disappointed, because I thought, right, there goes his price. So he was 9-10-1. So I haven't really got involved. I think with the Gold Cup, as the day approaches, he won't be too short in the day. So I think it'll be one of those things where I'll be waiting for the day, really do.
Fair. Lots of water to go under the bridge, of course, between now and then. I prefaced that race by saying a big bubble's about to burst. I'm not sure the opposition are going to make it happen, but maybe the course will do it. Something will do it. So maybe I could be right. But you lads have talked me out of getting in any way involved, I would say, with that fascinating contest at Down Royal. That is, of course, the champion chase over 3 miles. 2:25 at Wincanton, just 5 minutes later. It's going to be hard to watch this if Jerry Colom's still running around, to be honest, knowing how they do this on the split screens and all that. But the 2:25's got the old boy Froden back in, 11 years old. I think it's the only race that this horse won last year. Bryony, of course, will ride for Paul Nicholls. They've also got Harry Cobden dropped up for 3 under through 5. Ashtown Lad is in there. The Big Breakaway is back from more this season. Remarkably, only 8, should be 14 years old. The Big Breakaway, I think, on the career that he's had and the ups and downs. That's the top of the market. It's 10-1 by those. Darren, I reckon the Nicholls camp will be pretty upset if 3 under through 5 doesn't beat Froden, and therefore I think it might be a big price.
Yeah, that's exactly how I viewed it, Dean. Funnily enough, I'm one of Frodon's bigger fans. I absolutely love this horse, and I don't think this race has as much depth in it as last year's did. So you could argue that he's actually a fair price at 3-1. But equally, what you say is correct. I think that they believe that 300 through 5 is a better horse than him at this stage, and I'd be disappointed myself if he wasn't. He's kind of on the cusp of this sort of class of animal. Obviously much younger legs than Frodon as well. Cobden jacked up, and I think Nicholls is a stranglehold in this race. You could maybe do worse than Dutch is too, but I think a straight win bet on 300 through 5 is the way I'm going to play this.
100% my view there. I know I teed you up for it, but I didn't know which way you were going to go with it. It just seemed like a solid market play with 300 through 5s. Had the wind up. They're going to bring it up. They're going to let Froden go and set the fractions. I think they'll be pretty confident, Gary, that 300 through 5 is going to step forward this year, and they could be mining this.
Yeah, probably the one more nauseating thing from ITV for a Frankie Wankfest. It'd be a Bridie Frost Wankfest if Roden was to win here. But I don't think they'll get the job done. Yeah, I'm at 300 through 5. 4 and 4 going this way round.
Yeah.
Aims for a nickel horse has a wind up. Don't see that usually, but yeah, you'd imagine that could bring some improvement off the same mark as a decent enough run in the Scottish National one last seen. I think he'll save us the ITV swooning, and he'll win it for nickels, but not with the one day want. So yeah, strong bet 300 through 5 for me.
Yeah, I prefer the swooning reference than the previous reference, Gary. But you made your point so eloquently. Yeah, I'm on board with this. I mean, look, they're throwing everything at it. Tongue tire on, the pieces are on, the wind up has been done. Off a mark of 147. It's the Badger Beer. It's normally a Paul Nicholls benefit. He's won it with plenty of different horses over the time. And Frodon's in here for a nice swan song. Dermo, are you joining the train here? I mean, the only one I'm worried about is the Big Breakaway. I'm not worried about anything else in the field. And probably the Big Breakaway might just struggle here against 300 through 5. So that's my view.
No, I find it just hilarious. Last week was the first time I ever backed Sir Psycho with you, and this week I was convinced we'd be sharing the Big Breakaway. I love I love him for this. First of all, the Tizard Yards in far better form this season than they were last year. This is a horse good enough to have troubled Monkfish, who I know isn't quite what he was, but back then Monkfish really was a very, very good horse. Him and Fiddler on the Roof for a huge race that day. He obviously ended up well beaten in the end, but still that season there was seconds behind the likes of Shan Blue. He's been all over the place since, but he shaped a good few times like there was a very big one in him. And again, last season went wrong, but the Tizzards were really in and out last season, and you can see they've really hit the ground running. The Big Breakaway is a horse who this track will suit, the ground will suit, the running tactics with Frodon going off like the clappers will suit. And, all I'm hoping is that there's a Joe Tizard / Brendan Powell wankfest afterwards, Dean, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm going to do the forecast 100% because I think it's the only horse that could outrun and give 300 through 5 a race. If 300 through 5, I can't even say the horse's name. If that horse wasn't in here, I'd be all over the Big Breakaway demo. So maybe we'll join together in a reverse forecast swoon fest. And I'll refrain from Excellent, good race. I think there's a bit of a charge on 300 through 5, but the danger is the Big Breakaway for sure. And won't it be great to see Frodon come in celebrating into the winners enclosure with Bryony Frost? I'm sure Gary will have that on record. Okay, let's go to the 2:45 at Aintree. It's a cracking weekend's racing this. Of course, you've got the Sefton, and Jess Keel is at the top of the market and been well supported during the week. I guess as the runners started filtering down, he's an obvious player. Around 100 to 30. Fantastic ladies in there for Nicky Henderson at 92. 13 to 2 Cooper's Cross. Born by the Sea is there for Paul John Gilligan. Half shot Nassalam. Plenty of fans of that horse. Doesn't win too often. It's often time between drinks, but that one seems to be fancied. Frero Bamboo. Percussion. It was a bit of a shock over these fences. Ran well over them when tried them last year, and it's like 14 to 1. But you go first.
Dean, really like Born by the Sea here. The Paul Gilligan stable, first of all, that's a yard that's in cracking form. Tiny yard, very few horses. 2 winners in a second now from the last 3 runs. One of them was a major enough handicap hurdle. This horse has represented this yard excellently over the years, including over hurdles and fences. Has ran huge races at Galway. One St. Stephen's Day, which is Boxing Day to all you Brits out there, ran a huge race at huge odds, finished second on bottomless ground. Last year, finished 8th in the Grand National, shaped so well over the fences, jumped them with aplomb, and just didn't quite get home. So this trip's going to suit him very well. He jumps the fences excellently. The yard's in good form. I know Jez Kill, the favourite, is well entitled to go very well because last year he was second off only a pound lower. He was second here twice, actually, wasn't he? So you're looking there at a horse, obviously, who deserves to be favoured, but Born by the Sea has form over these fences as well. I do like a horse that shapes well over Grand National and then comes back to a trip like this, like the following year's Topham or something like that. But the ground here will suit him crucially. We've watched this horse in the past run massive races on heavy ground. He's got the right jockey for a waiting ride. Yeah, Dean, I really, really like him, and I think he's a very big price.
Fair enough. Big shout for Born by the Sea for Paul Gilligan, Philip M. Wright, and he's been money. Well, the market's just been shorting them all up. I don't want to, mislay people.
All the right faces. All the right faces.
All the right faces. Yeah. I took the 14s on the sportsbook last week. That kind of stuff. I didn't do that. But Born by the Sea, around 7-8 to 1. Interesting. Okay, we'll go to Darren. Darren, what do you make of this race? Always one of the great ones to watch. Early pointers for it's coming.
Yeah, I have a similarly strong fancy to Diarmuid, but it's a different horse. I would start just first of all on the favourite. The trainer said in the stable tour on Tuesday, Gaskill needs a little bit of time between his races. When a trainer says something like that, I tend to think that's longer than 6 to 8 weeks, which is which is the amount of time since he's last run in France. So I think if you're looking to back him at 10 to 3, maybe just take that into account before you go piling in. And I just wondered if Ferrero Bamboo can't get back on track here. I always find Venetia Williams horses, I don't tend to back them until she goes on a bit of a run, which she does every year. And quietly, she has at the start of this year. She's gone 4 for 12 in her first runners of the jump season proper. She's another winner today. I do wonder if that's maybe a byproduct of the fact we've had quite a wet summer going into a wet autumn and winter. But in any case, the ground is going to be bottomless here at the weekend. Ferrero Bamboo will love that. And as I said, Venetia being in flying form, this is when she starts to bang winners in. This is the type of jumper I can see taken to these fences very, very well. He kind of lost his way a small bit last year, but remained a pretty solid jumper throughout. I give him an absolute flying chance here at double-digit odds. Charlie Judge on board. His style of running would suit this track absolutely perfectly, and I think that the 2.5 mile trip, 2 mile 5 trip will prove to be his best in time. He's got enough speed to win over 2, as he's done several times in the past, again when the ground gets pretty soft, but this step up and trip at this stage of his career looks like it might just suit. So I think at double-digit prices, about 11 to 1 there across the board, I give him a really, really strong chance.
Yep. When Venetia starts to get rocking and the rain is falling, you know that there's a sensible course of action is just to keep getting involved. And it seems to be happening a little bit earlier this year, as you say. Forever Bamboo, double digits, Charlie Deutsch in the plate for Venetia. Okay, 2 strong cases made so far for 2 different horses. A little bit of a question mark around the fav. Gary Connolly.
I'll muddy the waters a bit further. I'm going to go for a different selection. I like Fantastic Lady here. For Nicky Henderson and Nico. I think she's best fresh. That's the time to catch her. Form last season, she won first time out, and then she was given a break, and she ran an excellent second in the Topham in April. So she handles the course. I think she needs a bit of juice in the ground, and I'm happy that 11 to 2 looks a fair enough price. So yeah, she'll do for me.
Fair enough. Okay, so I mean that's 3 flagged already, and I was going to flag a 4th. So this is obviously one of the trickier races of the weekend. I thought Percussion was interesting enough. Ran in the Al Dancer race last year, ran behind Ashtown Lad last year. Gavin Sheehan is back in plate for the Morgans, and I just think it was a bit of an unknown quantity last year. I think it came in at 40 to 1 the Al Dancer race, finishing in 3rd, only 5.5 lengths behind Ashtown Lad over the further trip. Was more fancied that day. Gavin Sheehan kind of got going a little bit late. I think all grounds come to them the same. It's 1 on heavy, 1 on decent ground. So I don't think that'll be a problem. 10 stone 11, why not? I think could be an interesting runner. And I'm going to say the same old line, all the right faces, 20s into 10s, it looks like, but I can't be certain of that. But yeah, it's going to be double digits too. It just shows you the quality of what we've got there, the competitive nature of what we've got there in the Sefton. Okay, that goes to post 245 at Aintree. We're going to move on to the 3 o'clock at Wincanton. And I think I alluded to this before. It's going to be Paul Nicholls' day at Wincanton. And he's got Reward here. So this is going into the doubles, trebles, 4-timers, whatever you want to do. Harry Cobden on for Paul Nicholls. Up against Hansard, West Balboa, Glorious Soft and Sacre Coeur. They are the 5. Gary, would you be taking on this, Fat?
I didn't get much of a look at this race, so I'm not going to be much use to this here. So I'll leave to my knowledgeable colleagues to run you through this one.
Just say yes, Gary. That's all I needed to hear. That's fine. Darren, I'll ask you. I do think West Balboa could end up in the... Where is he? Could be at Aintree, where he's likely to be favourite in a 3 runner, which is the race that's coming up after that. So might even make it even easier for Nicholls' horse.
Yep, you summed up my thoughts pretty much exactly there. I'd actually be very interested in her here at a big price. I think she's currently penciled in around the 10-1 mark, but as you say, highly likely she runs. I think Aintree is far and away her preferred destination, but just with the very heavy ground there, I think they've given her a get-out clause, let's call it. But Rubaud is a good bit better of a horse than Hansard, I think, and obviously having the run to his name this season will stand to him. He won in Kempton. I think this is actually pretty straightforward. I wouldn't waste too much time on it. Rubaud to win handsomely.
Yep, and to boost those Paul Nicholls Ackers. I mean, we could have skipped these two races, Dermo, the 3 o'clock at Wincanton, the 3:20 at Aintree. I mean, for the fact they both have West Balboa in, Rubaud is going to be odds on at Wincanton, and West Balboa, if it turns up at Aintree, will be odds on there.
Yeah, look, I really don't care about this race or the race after. I just think they're absolute. I just like. There's intelligent people running horse racing, right? We have enough problems going on with the sport.
Steady on now. That's a brave statement.
But we've enough problems on the outside of this sport without shooting ourselves in the face. Why are two races of such a similar nature as those two races run within 20 minutes of each other on the same Saturday? Like, it is absolute nonsense, because a lot of the horses that could run in that elite hurdle could well easily go up half a mile there at Aintree. It is absolute nonsense how this keeps happening year after year. Same thing as when the Tingle Creek and the Hilly Way are on the same weekend, and there's so little 2-mile chases all around the place. There's so many own goals that we keep scoring as a sport. I know I'm getting off topic here, but I cannot fathom how that 3 o'clock at Wincanton and the 3:20 at Aintree are on the same weekend, where if God forbid something went wrong with the favourite here, you could end up having 5 or 6 runners in that Aintree field. We have tiny fields, we have a dwindling audience, and there's a reason why, and it's because of absolutely terrible 2 and 3 runner races happening every single weekend and week, because of the fact that there are too many races on in the UK. I know it's an uncomfortable conversation, because ultimately cutting back the race fixture probably leads to job losses. Nobody wants that, but for the sport to survive, we need to start focusing on there being more of an elite level where it's harder to actually be running in these bigger races with more horses available to do it, which means less options. That's one of the reasons why Ireland is streets ahead at the moment. And until the UK finish this, we're going to end up with jokes of races like them too every weekend.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think, there's been a problem with the program book for a long time. They tell you they cut races, but they put more on in the evening for the pub fodder and the all-weather nonsense. And not that some people like that kind of racing, but it's all about making money and just getting rights in, and it doesn't work. 2 pretty disappointing races there, as we said, as Darren Nolan's put into context. That there was only one other race I want to talk about this weekend. Of course, we're sticking with the ITV cards. It's the 3:32 at Wincanton. Lime Avenue. Gary, I'll come to you first, because I keep sticking you with this byline. Lime Avenue, Harry Cobden, Paul Nicholls. This will be the 4-timer.
Yep, just wins with you on this one, Dino. Best horse in the field. Fair enough price. And get your 4-timer up, hopefully. And just go click.
Hey, look, so anyone who's not sure exactly what I'm talking about there, 3 under through 5, Lime Avenue, Reward, and Nappers Hill. I think it's around 40-1. If you want to take out maybe 3 under through 5, because the only one that's not really sure, it's still an 8-1 treble. You can just go. You can go and pick that up afterwards and enjoy your afternoon watching Wincanton. I've said this before and it's gone wrong, so people know what I mean. But I'm just being fair. Lime Avenue, the 4-timer for Paul Nicholls, goes steaming in. Darren Hughes.
I didn't have a strong view on this, so I'm happy to follow the pair of you lads in. I'd like you to explain what the angle is into Lime Avenue. I had a quick look at the race, and obviously lightly raced, an improver, no doubt. But what makes you think she's so well thrown in off 118?
Trained by Paul Nicholls, ridden by Harry Cobden. It's going to be part of a 4-timer, wind up, tongue tie, and course and distance winner. That'll do me. Don't need to go any further. And it's 2-1. It's not even odds on. Darren, sometimes it's a simple game. Dermo?
Muck of a race. I'm happy to follow you in, yeah.
After my in-depth case made for Lime Avenue there, I don't blame you, Dermo. I think it's pretty straightforward. Is there anything else across the cards that caught people's eyes? There are a couple of nice races on the entry card before we got stuck into the races that we looked at there. I did see Master Chewy, who I know Darren Hughes is a big fan of. is possibly going to go there for another chase victory as well, supported on its first run. And Iker Allen is in the Pertemps. A few interesting races there, Darren. Are you a Master Chewy fan this season?
Yeah, big time. I'm glad he's finally starting to put one foot in front of another.
It was a frustrating beast, wasn't he?
Oh, geez, he got my nerves. Something shocking. He was highly tried. I think they were maybe just kind of chasing their tail with him to an extent. Last year when they kind of knew what they had, left a couple of races behind him, a couple of falls, I think, along the way as well. There was one in Ascot particularly that hurt the old back pocket. But looking forward to seeing what he could do. I don't know whether he'll ever be tip topper. Does Nigel Twiston Davies train tip toppers anymore? Probably not. But I'm sure he'll more than pay his way in the coming year or two. He'd want to, though. He had a big price tag, didn't he? Was he not 300,000?
Yeah, I was going to say, he certainly thinks he does train a few big tip toppers, and this would have been on his list.
Well, I tell you, he's convinced somebody with a large checkbook that he could still do it. So, I mean, good for him. I wish him well.
They all need ammunition, Darren. Sometimes it's they're hard to buy.
Very true, very true. But interested to see how he gets on this year. As I said, I think ultimately he'll fall a little bit short of the Willie Battalion. But let's see.
Fair. Okay. Damo, did you have anything else from the weekend that piqued your interest? There's plenty of racing on.
One, Justine. Foxy Girl runs in the 145 at Down Royal on Saturday. Runs there off a mark of 123. I think this mare is absolutely thrown in. She won really well at Limerick over Christmas last year, and then went into the put away like Henry always does. He targets at the race, was really well back for the mare's novices. That race last season, You Wear It Well just wore them all down from the front. Magical Zoe agonizingly came from midfield, but this horse came from another parish, was held up at the back, and nothing got into it. So her mark is very low because of that. So a mark of 123 running a handicap hurdle for Rachel Blackmore and Henry de Bromhead here. I think Foxy Girl is absolutely thrown in. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing her do.
Hot little race that, the 145 at Down Royal. Party Central, Magic Tricks is in there for Gordon Elliott. The Model Kingdom's in there for Noel Mead. Jack Kennedy booked up, and Rachel is on Foxy Girl. We fancied one of theirs. They were dropping back in a handicap company the other week. Got beat. Was it the Gabby's Cross?
Gabby's Cross finished second. I was actually beaten by the Paul Gilligan horse that actually should have probably won the Martin Pipe, which just continues to become that Martin Pipe from last season. But he won. That Martin Pipe from last season is absolutely ridiculous already. Oroco's come out. The Imagine won during the week. It's a serious race. So yeah, that the Gabby's Cross ran a huge race that day. So it's so Foxy Girl can just go one better than that, Dean.
Certainly could.
We'll be laughing.
Certainly could. Hood on first time as well. Looking obviously to get back on track after the Cheltenham run at the festival. Gary, did you have anything else for the weekend that was of piquing your interest?
Just one for tomorrow in Down Royal, 312. Found a 50. I think there's a big season in this one. Looking at the race, Colonel Mustard's thrown in there as well, so hopefully he'll make a price. Just really like this horse. Came from the point field. Was decent enough over hurdles, but I think jumping is his game. I think perfect starting point. He's one for the 4 miler for me later on in the season, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how he gets on. Another one's probably later on and going into next week. A buddy of mine actually bred Dice Sardinos. So I was yapping to him there during the week, and the owner was on to him saying she's in serious order and skilled very well over hurdles. So she's already to the head of the market in most of the mare's chases on mare's hurdles. So looking forward to seeing how she gets on. I think she's in Huntingdon on Tuesday.
Lovely. Good to see that one back. And found a 50 flagged up there for the 312 at Down Royal tomorrow. Obviously up against that Colonel Mustard. Of course, Jamie Benson, part owner of that, big friend of the show. So there's some good informative stuff. Unless anyone's got anything else they want to throw into the mix for the weekend's racing, it's time to find the naps. So whilst you gather yourselves, I'm going to weigh in with the Paul Nicholls trebles and 4-timer at Wincanton's. Very straightforward. And I think 3 under through 5 is the best value of those. I think they'll be super disappointed if it doesn't hold on and knock Froden off the swooning festival that otherwise will take part. And if the big breakaway wins, I'll still be celebrating Dermot Nolan.
Yeah, you're in a lovely spot there at that race, aren't you? And the my nap of the weekend, Dean, would be in the Grand Sefton, Born by the Sea.
Lovely, yeah. John Gilligan. Okay, Darren Hughes, your best bet of the weekend.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm in direct opposition with Farah Bamboo. But a race that we didn't touch on, that is on ITV this weekend in that 320 that Diarmuid was given out about, as an alternative, given he's put one up in the race. There's absolutely no way that Miller's Bank should be the outsider at 3 in that race. Absolutely no way. Like West Balboa is far and away the most likely winner. But Brewing Up a Storm is 11-8 second flag. Like, I don't think Miller's Bank should be 9-2 under any circumstances. To be honest, if he was half the price, I consider him a bet. So you can do it that whatever you like. Farah Bamboo is probably my nap, but I do think Miller's Bank is a wild price at 9-2. The
old adage of the outsider of 3, that 320 at Aintree, should all 3 turn up, of course. Brewing Up a Storm, West Balboa, and Miller's Bank. I've got a lot of time for Alex Hales and Keelan Woods. I do like it. I do like their horses. They don't get that many winners, but when they get it right, they get it right. And good stable that. Gary, your nap of the weekend, please.
I've got to go with 3 under, through 5, Badger Beer, Stop the Swoon Fest. That's the one.
Yep, double charge for that. I'm definitely with you. I think it's the most sensible punt of the weekend, and I'm not really. I'm more of a romantic follow a horse off a cliff type, but I've come down that way and gone against the old breakaway. Look, it's been a real pleasure to have everyone on the podcast this week. Darren Hughes, Gary Connolly, welcome back. We'll see you again during the season. Dermot Nolan, of course, is here as normal. This has been brought to you with our friends at Gambling.com. You can see the logo above Gary Connolly's head, of course, every time he spoke today, which was superb placement by him. And we'll be back next week. Do play sensibly this weekend and enjoy all the racing.
Relentless, remorseless, and pounding Cordon Star into submission.